Gaming social media has been ablaze these last few days. You sense that the Western gaming industry is trying desperately to justify its existence and its decision-making processes, particularly when it comes to inclusion and diversity. Take today, for example, a huge debate was raging. Merit versus DEI. And when I saw this, I said to myself, we got to have a little bit of a chat, because when it comes to merit, inclusion, diversity fits always within that. But when it comes to DEI, unfortunately, merit is not always included in that. So let's get into it. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface, the internet. What a wonderful place, isn't it? And recently there's been a lot of conversation about the Western gaming industry and the current state that it's in, particularly when it comes to their hiring practices of DEI and ESG, seemingly coming at the detriment of the companies and, more importantly to people like me, the detriment of the product that's coming out because it's crap. Games like Concord, for example, 8 years of development, only 2 weeks active before it was shut down, and costing somewhere in the region of $400+ million, with some reports stressing that it could be somewhere in the region of $800 million. Why do gamers want Concord to fail? This article asks. Sentiment surrounding the game has been mixed, to say the least. In the weeks leading up to the game's launch, it's been hard to ignore the outpouring of negativity, especially on social media platforms where official Concord updates are usually met with laughing emojis and memes, as well as claims from video game fans that it will be dead on arrival. Well, they got that spot on, didn't they? But when the lead designer believes whites must acknowledge their privileged position and then actively work for equality, what do you actually expect? I mean, the diverse range of characters involved no white men. And whether you like it or not, white guys tend to make up a rather large proportion of gamers. Concord might have the ugliest character designs I've ever seen, was a thread on Reddit. If you want to play a morbidly obese black or brown woman, this game's got you covered. Want to play an old Asian chick? Boom, you got it. Want to play a robot with pronouns? You've come to the right place. Unfortunately, that's not actually very appealing to a lot of gamers. Shock horror. However, it does signal to the DEI ESG crew, as well as also give away the politics and the type of employee that you are currently hiring. Something that didn't cost anywhere close to the budget of Concord, clocking in at approximately 1.65 million euros. Dustborn managed to achieve an all-time peak of 76 players. If you want to become the top Dustborn player right now, you've just got 3 people to beat. Good luck. Now, both of these games absolutely have the right to exist. They just have to deal with the consequences of that. Because when I hear the term inclusion nowadays, I actually think that it's a gaslighting term for exclusion, typically straight males. And when I hear the word diversity, all I hear in reality is non-white. And if that ruffled your feathers, then I probably hit a nerve that you're not prepared yet to deal with. There's been so much straw manning when it comes to this argument that we're now dealing with fields full of scarecrows and there ain't any crops in them anymore. So now let's bring merit into this conversation. Endymion put out a tweet a few days ago saying that they spoke to a Ubisoft insider and they told him that places like CD Projekt Red and Funcom are in dire trouble, which actually brought the CEO of CD Projekt Red out to reply to this, saying, "Seems we live in times where anyone can record complete nonsense and make a story out of it. CD Projekt Red talent leaving. We have the lowest rotation of people in recent years. DEI driven recruitment? ? We hire based on merit and talent alone, just as we make our games driven by artistic vision alone. Why did we choose Unreal Engine? Because it enables us to work with our games more efficiently efficiently, and we remain cutting edge tech-wise. The Witcher 3's director left, yes, 2 years ago. Now, can we stop looking for conspiracy theories and go back to making cool stuff? A confident answer to be sure, and believe you me, I would love nothing more than cool games from CD Projekt Red. However, the hiring practices and company ethos seem to contradict what he said in that post.
My name is Piotr Nielubowicz. I'm a member of the board and CFO at CD Projekt. I'm also personally involved in a range of environmental, social and governance initiatives, ESG for short, and I'm responsible for CD Projekt Group's reporting in this matter.
Remember that ESG video from CD Projekt Red a couple of years back? Absolutely ratioed into oblivion with only 369 likes to the over 11,000 dislikes. CD Projekt Red admitting that they are indeed embracing ESG/DEI. But it doesn't just start and stop there. On their very own website, they have a section dedicated to it. ESG. And in the S section, the social section, the very first one, strengthening the DEI culture at CD Projekt Red by, amongst others, fostering inclusive leadership. Whatever that means. I would deem leadership positions as mission critical, not something you want to mess around with in regards to inclusion and diversity /ESG/DIE. You simply want the right people for the job. DEI award for CD Projekt Red. In a contest organized by 30% Club Poland, the most interesting initiatives promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion were awarded. CD Projekt Red was amongst the winners, receiving recognition for the company's menstrual leave initiative. Yeah, I already did a video about that a few months ago. In actual fact, it's all over their website. Diversity and inclusion, diverse teams, inclusive leadership, equitable processes, equitable practices, diversity in games, menstrual leave, the diversity charter. I can understand the frustration when you're confronted with confidential sources or my sources said and they don't get quantified. It must be really annoying. Something, by the way, that the mainstream media have done since time immemorial, but don't worry about that. It's when you say that you hire purely based off merit and your website is plastered full to the contrary, unless you truly believe that DEI and ESG bring merit, whereas I would say that they are actually polar opposites to each other. Let's give the HR departments around the world their worst nightmare. There's a company that employs 20 straight white men. The White Devil! And the company's CEO has just come back from the Game Developers Conference, and Kim Belair from Sweet Baby Stink said to him, "Oi, you need to diversify your workplace. You need more people like me within your company." So the CEO talks to the board and says, "I've been told that we need to diversify our company. It will make us stronger. It will make us better." And one of the directors replies by saying, "Well, we went through all the resumes when we were hiring, and these were the best 20 people for the job. They were the most qualified, they were the most talented, the most organized, they were the best, and so we hired them." Then the HR director says, "Well, Terry's actually leaving the company. He's got a job elsewhere, so we do need to replace Terry." So the CEO is like, "Oh, this is my chance to diversify the company." So he says to his HR, "When you put this job up, I want an emphasis on everybody available to apply." To which the HR department responded with, "Well, that's just normal business practice, but okay." And so they do, and the job is filled. And the CEO goes to see his new employee. So he goes back to the HR guy. I thought We made it clear. And the HR guy says, we hired the best person for the job. We went through all the resumes. There was a group of them, and his was the one that shone out the most. He was the most talented, the most reliable, the most organized. Thankfully, he accidentally cut his head off while shaving today, so we do need to replace him. Also, I'm retiring, so you need to hire a new HR person. So the CEO says, I can kill two birds with one stone here. Bring in a new HR person that believes in DEI and ESG initiatives. Excellent. So Karen finds herself with a job in HR. So this time, instead of hiring the best person for the job, they have to skim through a few of those resumes to get to the one that now fits their new criteria of ESG and DEI, so that the company can show off that they are progressing. Now, Sharon isn't the worst employee by any stretch of the imagination. However, she's finding it difficult to adapt to the company and the company's systems. They're having to spend a lot more time training her up, and mistakes are being made. Mistakes which are now being corrected by the other employees, which leads to a couple of them getting a little bit ticked off about the increased workload while their pay remains the same, and they decide to leave to another company where they believe they'll be appreciated more and won't have to carry the slack. Now, Karen in HR says that those two employees left because they were toxic males causing a toxic working environment, and now that the opportunity has arisen, we can correct that with more stunning and brave DEI/ESG. However, to hire this batch to compensate for some perceived slight which never existed in the first place, they have to seriously go down the pile of resumes. The qualified are cast to one side because they don't now hit the DEI ESG demographic, if you know what I mean. And so when they eventually get to who they want, which is more women in the workplace now, because there was 20 guys, now there's 18 guys and 2 women, that's still not enough. We need to balance this further. They now hire based off this criteria. Merit has long now been forgotten. Huzzah, says the MD. I have now achieved my goal of adding DEI and ESG in my company. I can now sit back and relax. Hello? It's Karen from HR. Can we have a talk, please? What's on your mind, Karen? Well, our new employees have told me that the games that we're producing are very problematic. They do not reflect the world that we live in today and the modern audience that we should cater to. They do not see themselves presented in these products and feel that they are incredibly sexist and racist, and you wouldn't want that now, would you? Goodness gracious me, says the MD. Heavens no, whatever can we do? Well, I know a consultancy firm. They're called Sour Baby Limited, and for a fee, they can come into the company and tell you how you can modernize your game
for a modern gaming audience.
I should set up a meeting with this company, shouldn't I, Karen? Says the CEO.
And if you're in development and you are part of like that dominant voice, you're like a cis hetero white dude or just adjacent to that, do not wait until the end to call your consultants. Bring them in at the beginning, and instead of asking them, hey, is this very racist thing we did very racist? Or is this deeply offensive thing we did deeply offensive? Are you hurt by it? Ask them what they want to see. Like, ask them what would thrill them, what would bring them joy. And if you have a team lead, put that request to them very, very early. If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
Just leave it with me. It's fine. I'll handle this, says Karen. So what will this mean to our core audience, the backbone of our customer base? Well, the consultancy company told me money.
Also, don't fall into this trap that I think a lot of people fall into, which is they think, okay, don't worry. We can include everyone by making this like single default universal experience that is universally representative. Because usually like all that means is that you're aiming at your core demographic and you're probably invisibly leaning towards the dominant societal voice.
Wait, says the CEO, so we're now not meant to produce content for our target audience? Correct, says Karen, because if you give your target audience what they want, they're gonna expect the stuff that they want. But their modern audience doesn't want that stuff. And your ESG score, if you do this, will soar into the clouds. And you might get investment opportunities from BlackRock and Vanguard and such. But what if our customer base doesn't go along with this new direction?
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
Your company is now working antithetically to what the customer base wants. DEI and ESG isn't working for you. You are working for ESG and DEI, and it is directing the way that your company's going and the content that it's now going to produce. And before you know it, your company website is looking like Ubisoft's with just demographic breakdowns as opposed to letting the quality of your work shine through. 25.5% of the workforce are now women, and we want more. 113 different nationalities are represented. 32.9% of new hires are the women's as well. And then, of course, you have all of the different groups that you've now set up as you squander and waste resources and money creating fake jobs for fake organizations that do nothing but divide employees and staff, creating toxic environments where people walk around on eggshells, living in abject fear of in any way, shape, or form offending somebody and losing their job as a consequence of this stunning and brave ESG/DIE. So as not to offend the Portlandian land whales that now exist within your company, all of your female characters look like they've gone 10 rounds with Mike Tyson while suffering from a terrible bout of glandular fever, offering things like menstrual leave because it's not as if women have ever had periods in their life before, leading to all the men in the company no doubt asking themselves,
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
If it'll get them an extra day off work. DEI and ESG aren't solution providers, they are problem causers for your company. The addition of these sorts of intersectional politics do not allow there to be a solution, because when you operate off victim culture, there must always be the problem. So you're saying that companies should just be white males? No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, the example I gave with merit is complete and utterly interchangeable with any other demographic. Women, black men, gay men, trans people, it doesn't matter. Merit shines through. If they are the best people for the job, it doesn't matter their demographic background. And therefore, there isn't a victim culture within the company because they earned their position there. The very fact that ESG and DEI exists says we need to put people who aren't qualified for these jobs, who aren't the best pick for these jobs, but because of their demographic, need to be employed. To quote this tweet from Disbrew, DEI by definition makes you hire bad people, because if they were good enough to be hired on merit, they wouldn't need DEI to force them into positions above other people who are deliberately excluded. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that a merit-based employment system is always going to happen. It doesn't happen at all. We have to deal with reality here. People are hired for all different kinds of reasons, and maybe even the most qualified isn't the best person for your company for a multitude of different reasons. Awful people get hired regardless of their demographic. Good people get passed over regardless of their demographic. However, diversity can always exist within the merit-based system, because merit doesn't care about the color of your skin, your ethnicity, your your religion, your politics, your sexuality, etc. But merit doesn't always exist within the DEI/ESG system, because that is purposely set up to discriminate. When your company starts chasing quotas of what demographic they'd like to work within their company, they are always going to pass on the most qualified if they don't tick that box, which inherently weakens your company. Not only that, DEI and ESG is also rooted in far left ideological politics, and therefore you start to create echo chambers within your company, forcing out people who don't think the same way or don't have the same beliefs, and diversity of thought is complete and utterly lost. So I'll end the video with this. Now I am become ESG/DEI, the destroyer of merit. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.